Sounds good.
All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here. Yes, talking about real music, definitely today in real time for real people, just like you and me. And yes, there's another person here, which is cool because I can point at him too. His name is Craig Higgins. Craig, how are you today?
Doing very well, David. Thank you.
Craig is a musician and he's got this musical collective, I'll call it, because I think that's probably the best way to describe it. Much like he's kind of like Mr. Steely Dan for 2021. We'll put that on him and see. He probably isn't going to cop to that because it's those are big shoes to fill. But he's got this band or collective called Causeway Stars. Got the third album here, and I want to thank Craig for sending this to me. Packaging, Craig, production value. This is, for me, this is kind of like Christmas Day. I open this stuff up and I go, this is great, ripping the plastic off. So I don't buy a lot of music anymore, and I'm sure I'm not alone, but this one definitely worth getting the actual physical CD, and we'll talk about where we can get that maybe toward the end of the video. Let's talk about you. What inspires you? How did you get started in music? And you're not an old geezer like me, so I got to kind of find out, like, a guy your age. I mean, why? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
that would be
I might actually be closer to your age than you think. I'll be 55
wow.
in November. So,
All right,
but
well,
yeah,
you just look good then, and I so.
it's all the lighting.
Yeah.
I've been in and out of bands for years in high school and through college. I was a music major in college, and have always been involved in some way with music, and if not professionally, just as a passion. And so, yeah, I think that's a good idea when you said about collective, because I was going to joke about the Alan Parsons Project, who has a nucleus of musicians and satellite working around them. But so I just decided a few years ago I wanted to sort of have a challenge to maybe take some songs that I had written years prior and turn them into disco songs, essentially. I have an affinity for the 1970s and music of that time. So it was just one of those things where I said, let me see if I could take all those songs and sort of set them in that frame and try to be as authentic as I can to that time period. And of course, I'd have to farm out some jobs to various other musicians and singers. I'm not really a singer myself, so and a lot of these songs would be female-oriented vocalists. So then I had such a blast. I just kept going.
Yeah. And this new album, now I do have, because Craig's been faithful to send me all of his work, and I think I told you I thought this sounded like like 1978, and I really
right
I did
target.
like it. I really enjoyed that stuff. But I got to tell you, this new record here, it's so in my wheelhouse. I had to go listen after I listened to this from start to finish, and then I brought it. Went to the grocery store, did some errands, was listening in the RAV4, driving around where I live, and I'm just blown away by the production value, the amount of air that's in this. Like, you can hear all the different instrumentation. You have an acoustic guitar. I forget which track it was, and I'm just getting old, but the thing is, it's just very crisp and clean, and it's something that you don't really hear in today's production, even with the music that I tend to like, that I hear from these record labels that are out there. What's the recording process like? I mean, how did you do this?
Well, as you can see behind me, that's pretty much my setup here, and it's a little room in my house that I use to record with. And thanks to the internet, I was able to farm out some of the work to other people. Some people I've known and have an intimate working relationship with, especially a couple singers, and then others I found through session work online, and thankfully was able to do that. Otherwise, I would have no real resources to do it with. I'd be putting ads in papers, like you remember in the old days, the music magazines and Tower Records, and you wait to hear back from somebody, and then you'd have to somehow book studio time or have somebody come to you. This way, I could work with somebody in England or any other part of the world. I had a couple guys from India help me out.
Wow.
And it's just been great as far as I would usually do the tracks myself as far as I could take them. I would play most of the instrumentation, and then I would try to find the appropriate singer for a particular track, and then I would contact them after hearing their demos, and we'd work out an arrangement, and they would send me the material. I'd edit it back here, and so that's the way I worked for the three projects, and it was great. Thankfully, like I said, to the internet. I mean, you and I probably have an affinity for the physical product, and I agree with you on that. That's partially why I put them out on CD as well. And I can't tell you how many people I've given these things to and they said I don't have a CD player, so I'm a
Wow.
I'm a big proponent of the physical product. I love it. It's having something permanent in your hand that you could have for the years, and the artwork is part of listening to LP each group. And there's always the liner notes and the artwork that all played into the whole totality of the picture,
Right.
and the experience of listening to a record.
Wow. Yeah. And that, quite honestly, I think you could tell there's quality in this right from the get go. Your other albums that you sent me, I was like, wow, this guy is serious. He's not just, hey, just go grab the download somewhere. And, there are bands that'll put out material and I'll be like, I wouldn't mind a physical product, because guess what? It's the old adage in sales, product placement. Here I am. Here's the disc. People can see it. I had kind of an incomplete thought, because after I went and listened to this, I had to go find Desert Moon by Dennis DeYoung after I listened to this from start to finish. There's a lot of you have a couple of male singers here who, if Dennis had heard, hears these guys, I don't know if he ever will, maybe someone should try to, hey, Dennis, check this out. Because this is at times, there are a couple of songs. Doves and Diamonds was one of those songs, and also Breathe the Air. And I was just blown, and The Deep End, all of these songs to me kind of bring me back to that period where Dennis had just left Styx, or there's kind of like the Cornerstone thing going there with a little bit of, Paradise Theater maybe thrown in. But then I'm hearing Queen. There was one song, Safe Harbor, where I called it Kansas meets Chilliwack. That was the note I took on it. And I know people are like, who the heck is Chilliwack, right? But this guy, you've got one singer, his name is Warren Passaro. Not sure if I'm saying it right.
Absolutely.
Who are all these guys? Are they fans of DDY? Because and not all of them, they're not all dead ringers, but compared to the bands that are out there that say, hey, this guy, he sounds a little like Jimmy Jameson or Dennis DeYoung or whoever, these guys are really good, Craig. They're like really, really good.
Well, Warren is a buddy I've known since he and I were in a band together called Arrival, which, funny enough, was not named for Journey, but was named for the ABBA album. And when we were in a band back in the 1990s, and the joke back then was that, we were kind of an arena rock Journey type band that did music that was, as the grunge era was coming in, we were outdated already. So Warren is a singer I've known for, well over 25 years, and a great guy. I'm still in contact with him now, and he's a great friend. And so he was one of those people I mentioned earlier as far as the core group of people around me, and then I might, farm out music to other people who I don't know. But Warren is definitely, he's always helpful on all my albums, and I'm so lucky to have a friend who's close by too, who can assist me. And he is a Dennis DeYoung fan, by the way. So who isn't?
It makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I know a couple of people I'd love to, say, hey, just critique this for me. What do you think of this? You think this sounds like Dennis DeYoung? I love not only the production value and the music, but you seem to have like a nostalgic theme maybe running through this to some degree. I know you just named it Third's a Charm. That's the name of the album because it's the third, right, in the series, I'm assuming. Yes. But when I heard Safe Harbor, I'm thinking you could call this album Safe Harbor. It has that kind of, and there's a certain level of tranquility but seriousness, but also I mean, this is, why I listen to music, because it will
Yeah,
move you in certain directions.
absolutely. And that particular song, Doves and Diamonds, I think I wrote it back in 2000 or maybe a little bit earlier than that. And that's kind of a duet between Warren and myself. And that does deal with nostalgic themes. And you hit the nail on the head with those influences you mentioned. Kansas, that's one of my favorite bands. Jethro Tull is one of my favorite bands. I kind of favor. I was a progressive rock fan for years. I love Frank Zappa's music, but also I appreciated the AOR and the late '70s West Coast stuff that you and I probably share a similar album. We love the Poco Legend album.
Yep.
And believe it or not, that played an influence, that and Pablo Cruz, groups like that were instrumental for me when I was forming these CDs. And it just so happens that the first two sounded closer to that disco quality, but this third one was there's absolutely no disco on it at the moment, so it's just kind of was music I had laying around that just didn't fit in that. I couldn't squeeze it into the disco mold. And so I said, well, I'm going to put it out anyway as just a rock pop album. So it has more of an 80s flavor to it, just like you mentioned.
Yeah. And you've also got some lady vocals on this album.
Yes.
How many tracks? I think it was 2 tracks for ladies, or 3?
There was at least 2 and maybe one third one, which was the duet,
Yeah.
a song called Two Friends,
Yeah.
which was sung by Warren. And there was another girl who was nice enough to do the vocals on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of vocally, I kind of reference like Joni Mitchell, Amy Grant, kind of
Yeah.
it's sort of a progressive seriousness to it, but it's also she's pleasant and light and friendly, so it's all kind of it's nice because you get, this is what I like about the whole collective idea, is because you can't really throw this into one category. Although I will say this is pop, rock, a little bit of progressive. Again, I hear the DDY more like the solo DDY than the Styx DDY, but that's just so in my wheelhouse. And that's why I said to you, this was kind of shocking how much I enjoyed this album, and you just did a great job with it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And like I said, the feedback I get is important because as an independent person putting out these albums, I don't get a lot of feedback from your immediate family and friends, of course, are always going to give you feedback, but it's nice to get feedback from other people as well. So I'm glad to hear your.
Yeah, and absolutely. And in full disclosure, Craig has been a part of my little Patreon bunch for a while now. And, and I appreciate the support of the channel. And this isn't one of those deals. Just want to make clear to the audience. It's not like, well, Craig gave me $1,000 or something, so I'm going to go out there.
1001.
1001. And so now it's time to start promoting Craig. But I'm a little bit, I get moody and I get finicky about things sometimes. And, this hit me in a way with pretty much everything that's going on in the world on top of it. It was just like, okay, put this on and just chill. And that's how I felt listening to it. But I also got into it because it's not mediocre. It's not like someone threw this together and they might have had some good musical ideas. To me, this seems like you spent some time putting this together, getting these songs where you wanted them. You've got some nice background vocals on this record that I think all these different artists and people that you've recruited really make it balanced and a little off balance at time. Like it's a little unpredictable, some of what you do on here, which again keeps the listener sort of on their toes. And wow, I thought he would do this chord and it went this way. So I mean, I think you've got that progressive theme kind of going here and there and that, which keeps it interesting.
It's funny about that because it's a melting pot of my influences, I guess you could say. I do have that, like I mentioned, I love Kansas. I love all those progressive rock bands. I love bands with the big vocal sound, ELO and things like that. So you kind of take all those influences and distill them into something with a strange genre like disco. And I tried to be, like I said, as authentic as I could with the settings and the arrangements. But it's a strange kind of mix because, and even on the Thirds of Charm project, a lot of those styles are a little bit different. So if this was a it may not be the most focused sounding record. I mean, in terms of every song has a thread to it, and or something linking. There's stylistic differences, but yeah, I think they do work together. Even though some of the songs might be 20 years old, and some of the songs might be in the last 5 years. But yeah, those arrangement ideas and things like that, they all just blend together from all my influences.
Yeah, I think on the song was Playoff there was again the Styx thing, but almost like a Queen thing going on in there,
Yeah.
where it was all of these layered vocals, and it's just, say again, I know I'm just biased towards certain types of music, but
It's funny you mentioned Playoff. That's one of the my brother and I recorded that with the drums probably 20 years ago, and for the drum tracks, and things were finished later on, and that has a power pop feel to it. So, I mean, people might say that sounds kind of like, remember the song Magic by Pilot?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's definitely an influence there from that kind of bouncy mid 70s, almost a little glam rock to it. But it has also a Foreigner type of sound too, with some of the Cold as Ice keyboard stabs in there. So yeah, it's sometimes it may be a little derivative, but hopefully the sources are good.
Yeah. It's all, hey, there's plagiarism pretty much everywhere. It's just,
I didn't say plagiarism.
just go, and it happens. It's osmosis. It's what you grew up listening to. So here's a question for you. Do you perform any of this music anywhere? Or I understand because you're bringing in people, but have you ever had like a band where you go out and you play a club somewhere?
Oddly enough, I've always felt part of a band rather than a solo artist, which is why I had to figure out a title for a collective band name. I didn't really feel putting my own name on it as a solo album would. First of all, I'm not a singer, so that was kind of it's always strange when you're an instrumentalist to do that. But I mean, Steve Hackett does it. He has a lot of singers who are who come in for the project. But no, I didn't really plan on playing live much on this because I don't have a group, and a lot of the people are scattered around the world. I'm enjoying mainly just doing this, almost like you'd say a Steely Dan before they started touring again, because to me, I don't see it in this day and age where I would be able to go out and really capitalize on the live stuff, because and it's a lot of work to put together a live group and hire all musicians to cover all the tracks and the sounds that were part of that ensemble. So
understood. Yeah. So why Causeway Stars?
Causeway Stars. I when I was down in the Sanibel Causeway area, which you know well, I was at the 2015 or so. I had brought with me some of the music that I was working on at the time, which made up the first CD, and I just needed a band name. I knew I wasn't going to put it under my own name, so that part of the state of Florida also just kind of inspired my musical mood for a lot of the songs, the disco Miami scene and things like that. The palm trees that you might find inside the inner booklet of that CD. Everything just kind of melded together into that picture. Yeah. And so it just became, once I had that first title, it just became like a brand. So I stuck with it, even though, as mentioned, the third CD has no disco on it, but the next one might.
The next one might, or after we sell, like if we can move a couple thousand units for you here today,
right?
Maybe you could do a follow up to this one, and then you can go back and forth between the disco and the AOR kind of stuff.
Well, that's just it. I had so much material that was unfinished, and so I never knew which direction. I could either wait and write songs from scratch, which probably would take more than a year, because I'm wearing all these hats myself. I'm having to do the engineering, the mixing, and the arrangements, and then contacting all the artists and things like that to help sing on it. And but if I had some tracks laying around, I had about probably 12 tracks that were available and that made up the third project. And I wanted to get it out because it takes about a year for each one to come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you, this is definitely a labor of love. You've got 11 very strong songs. This is not like a record where you're going to go, oh, going to skip this one. This is something you can listen to from start to finish. And again, you're not bored because there's shifts in style, shifts in vocalists. And I think, that's one great thing about a collective. I mean, like you mentioned, Alan Parsons was a genius when it came to that, where he would have all these different characters. He had a couple of mainstay vocalists and so forth, but he's a guy who can come along years later and still, be a genius and put together an album. And he's not going to do everything. And he never has, but he knows how to, if he has to, you know what I mean? So you're probably not going to be jumping into another recording anytime soon. I'm assuming you're going to probably take a break for a while. Is that correct?
I actually jumped in already to the fourth. So
Okay,
I have,
never mind.
I have 3 songs, pretty much musically finished, and there's about 10 of them all together. And I have probably 5. Well, let's see, 5 or 6 more for the next one after that. So, for me, this is such a labor of love. I love it. It's been kind of a passion for a long time, and because the technology is there, I couldn't do this probably 20 years ago because of just the technology and the availability of contacting musicians would have been so much more difficult. So, the minute I finished, for example, the minute I finished the first CD and that was physically in my hands, I was already working on the next one. So the same thing happened now. I'm already jumping into the next one.
All right. So let's cover the basis on where the audience can purchase a copy of this album. And I'm going to say this again, because number one, because it's awesome to have a physical copy of a CD, right? And this packaging is fantastic. You open it up, and again, you've got the sleeve inside, which, of course, I'm not going to be able to grab it, but there it is. And you get all the content in there. Again, I'm a big fan, and I have been since I was a little kid, of just, staring at albums as they play and reading stuff. And then you get to know who did what on the album. Half of my useless musical knowledge comes from just doing that, where people will ask me a question. I'll go, oh yeah, so-and-so. How do you know that? Well, I used to stare at the album cover all day. And, as a very independent artist who's, I'm sure you have most likely another job, so this probably isn't your way to earn revenue. So Craig, where
Correct.
can we, you have a website, I'm assuming, where people can purchase this?
Yeah, of course, it's available on all the digital platforms, Spotify and Amazon Music. But the website would be causewaystars.com. And you could see all 3 albums up there and purchase in the physical or the digital medium.
Nice.
And I agree with you about the staring at the album cover. That was, I can't tell you how many hours I spent staring at, covers and inner sleeves, knowing the credits, knowing the production and the mastering engineers. And and there's a lot of people like us who have done that, who've grown up with LPs. And I feel that, I've become a victim of the jukebox mentality as well. I put my iPod on and I walk, or just take your phone with you and play anything at random. But there is something to be sitting down at something to be said for sitting down and playing a full album in its entirety. And even I don't do that much anymore, I got to admit.
Right. Well, and I'm kind of there with you. Like I said, when I took the RAV4 out and I put your disc in, and I'm thinking to myself, this is pretty good. Every so often, just put in, because again, you have your phone where you can Bluetooth connect to something, and you've got playlists all over the place, YouTube, Spotify, and I go to those playlists a lot. But then I think to myself, just to get like the mood and the theme of an album like this, it was really like a little bit eye-opening. And I do have a lot of CDs, but I don't take them out enough. I don't use them enough. I mean, we've all become very much addicted to this easy, almost like junk food way to enjoy music, which again, it's not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. People lecture me all the time. They say, Dave, just go listen to Spotify. What are you worried about? I mean, just, it's all there. And again, this doesn't help the artists as much. The streaming revenue is like pennies or quarter. It's like fractions of pennies on each stream. It's just real abysmal. So again, if people hear this and they like it, they should own it. That's the way I see it, as a way to obviously say thank you to the artist, number one. Number two, think of it as like having a souvenir. Okay. You're not going to always bring out the souvenir. It's a lot easier to go stream somewhere, but hey, look at what is in my collection right here. And then if you have people over, if you're a people person, whatever, and they go, wow, what are all these CDs? You can say, hey, you got to check out this Causeway Stars. It's just amazing stuff. And then, you know, maybe it's a conversation starter. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to throw stuff out there for people to maybe rethink what they do. And people our age, since you're kind of, I guess, in my age bracket, I think a lot of us really still would like to do it the old way, even though we've got addicted to the newer way. We would probably say, it's okay, I got to go out. I got to go to Tower Records. Not that that's there. I got to go to Strawberries and buy, you know, the new Causeway Stars album, you know, but I miss those days. I really do. Those were
absolutely
great times.
Well, of course, Tower Records was open till midnight, and you know, the art of browsing through something, it almost seems quaint right now. I can't tell you. I went to a store in a mall recently, and they had a small section of CDs, and I almost felt embarrassed looking through them, because it was something that probably, I think Tower Records closed in 2007 here in New York, and you know, that experience of looking through the shelves, unless you're in a used record store, is just strange. I mean, there was a store for clothing that had vinyl. You know, a vinyl section that was bigger than the Barnes and Noble CD section, and you know, it's just it's a lost pastime in a way. And to me, the digital medium is great to have. It's space saving, but it almost seems in the ether. There's not really anything physical and tangible to it like a CD would be. So that's part of why I took the extra step and wanted to do it in the physical medium as well. And like you said, to hand it to somebody, and there it is with the artwork, and it's an immediate, gratifying, tactile type of experience. So that's important to me. And one last thing about that, Dave, I just heard CD sales are actually up for the first time in a long while. Vinyls has its niche, you know, and that's also doing well. But with CDs, there's actually an uptick this year, according to disc makers.
That's interesting. It's kind of good news. I think it's some of us who probably dumped all our old CDs at Goodwill or something years ago, are like, hey, I go to Goodwill and I see piles of CDs, and I'm thinking nobody wants these anymore. It's really sad. And you mentioned the LP. You go to thrift stores and you're like, all these great. I've actually purchased a few, and I honestly, right now, I don't own a turntable, but I purchased a bunch of these just because, again, I wanted to look through them. I wanted to have something that represents, you know, my childhood and the industry the way it used to be. And I don't know, could be just comfort food, could be just that I'm getting old and I don't want to let go of certain things. But I know that there probably are a lot of, you know, kindred souls that kind of think the same way, even though we all, you know, again, it's like, should I cook a real nice meal, or should I go out and just get the fast food, you know? And it's all of these different things in life where we make these decisions based on convenience, based on the fact, maybe cost obviously is a thing where, you know, you could stream your album, and I'm telling people to go out and purchase your album, but you want to sample it maybe before you purchase a physical copy, which, does that work? Sometimes it does. Depends on how, you know, I guess, fervent a person is about purchasing. But in this case, I would say this is worth it. The packaging is great. The music is great. And Craig, you've done it again. You got 3 really great albums, and people can, you know, check out all 3 on your website and, you know, listen to those online and then make a decision. Maybe they'll buy all 3, like we can hope, right?
And you get the download. If you purchase the physical CD, you get the download with it. So
right,
it's all baked in.
Yeah, you get a lot for your money. All right, so I want to thank my special guest, Craig Higgins from Causeway Stars, all around great guy, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter. I mean, jack of all trades and a master of pretty much all of them. So good work, Craig.
Thanks, David, very much. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk again. Maybe on the fourth album, I'll have you back, and we can
You'll get it for sure.
we can get it back out there for you.